Hello, welcome to the Mistwood Publishing Book Club. I am your host, S.R. Mowry, and today we'll be looking at The Veil of Stars, my book, Chapter 15, A King's Blessing. Alright, this chapter is the aftermath of Narbad saving the king's son. Him and his companions are being rewarded for basically Narbad's heroics and his ability to save the king's son. And it's definitely one of my favorite chapters. I don't know, I feel arrogant saying this, but I feel like I did a really good job illustrating the environment of the feast and making it feel like one that you could really feel, right? So, I don't know. I feel like I did a good job with creating the atmosphere of it, and also just like the little itty-bitty like body language and dialogue that Narbat and Talia have together in this chapter, I feel like I don't know, I like it a lot. So if you're someone who's following along the book club without actually reading, this might be one, if you're hungry, maybe you should read, or maybe you shouldn't, I don't know, because you're hungry. This might make you more hungry, but I feel like it does a pretty good job of creating an atmosphere of what this dwarven kingdom might look like. And I had a lot of fun with this chapter because, to me, one of my favorite parts of writing fantasy is giving the characters their look. Like, what do they look like? Like, what does their armor look like? What do their weapons look like? And that's one of my favorite parts of making characters and writing fantasy. I just have always thought that, armor and knights and all of that, it looks really cool. And, that's one of the big things I loved about the Lord of the Rings movies is that, it all looked really cool. And so, with, writing my own books, I get to customize that all, and that really is where one of the things that I enjoy most with creativity is designing how things look. I'm a very visual person in real life. I learn in a visual way. When I go shopping, mannequins work on me really well. It sounds creepy, but I just have a hard time picturing what clothes are going to look like on me or my wife, but when I see it on a mannequin, I'm like, oh, I can see it on me. I can see what it looks like on a real person, and it helps me, it's just very visual. I'm a very visually oriented person, so to me, that's one reason why I really like doing all the artwork and why the book covers are such a big deal to me, because I'm such a visual person, and I also like doing the visual with words. I really love doing the visuals with words. So I spend a lot of time, talking about the food and what it tastes like, what it feels like, what it smells like, and what everything looks like. And one of my favorite things with this chapter is describing the throne room as there is a party. The aramethal walls are kind of inspired by, I don't know if you can see it, but my wedding ring, I would take it off, but I can't. But it kind of has a hammered white gold look, and that's kind of what the throne room kind of looks like on the walls. It's kind of like waves of, almost like the ocean if you were looking straight down on it, of this metal which kind of looks like white gold but with like stars in it. And that's what aramethal is supposed to look like, which obviously, if you look at the cover, I mean, Narbad's armor, which he gets in this chapter, is aramethal, but obviously you can't really capture that on a book cover. That'd be a really hard thing to visualize without like CGI. So, I mean, I feel like the artist, captures it, well enough. But it basically looks like white gold that has like stars in it. So it's very shiny and very reflective and very pretty, very beautiful. So yeah, a lot going on. Very, very heavy on the atmosphere and describing the different weapons. So you'll see Narbad get his armor, which he has on the cover. You'll see Ruth get the shield and sword, which he has on the cover. And you'll see this is where Talia gets the sword that she has on the cover. She still doesn't have the armor that she has on the cover, but that is coming. And, all the companions get something, and I wanted to make it not everybody gets a weapon because that gets kind of redundant. And, Ragni and Boffin can already have that going for them, so I wanted to make these to be fun gifts, and I wanted them to be memorable, but also I wanted this to be a moment of Narbad making another change, and that is that he is now a free orc. The Dwarf King essentially purchases his freedom from slavery to the elves, and so it's a big moment for that too. And obviously Ruth then leaves in anger because, how could he say no after getting such a fantastical gift? And so that's where we get to one of my absolute favorite parts of the whole book, which is where we get a glimpse into Ruth's rationale. Why he thinks the way he does, why he is the way he is. And, man, it's pretty brutal, I have to say. We're getting this glimpse of Ruth and his father, and we also get a little bit of a hint as to what Ruth and Tima's relationship was previously, which we'll hear about more later on as well. But this scene is inspired by a scene in Stranger Things with Billy and his father, because I kind of feel like Ruth and Billy have a similar vibe of you hate him, but you also love him, and they're both kind of racist, but you hate them and love them by the end. Probably love Ruth more than you love Billy, but although by the end you're pretty sympathetic to him, but not that it's an excuse for what he thinks or does, but you get it. And so I really thought it was pretty well emotionally handled in season 3 of Stranger Things, and I was like, I'd kind of like to tap into that emotion a little bit. So, if you read it, you're not gonna catch any lines that are the same, because it's totally just a different kind of story, but you will probably notice that there's a similar vibe. Although I do think that conversation might be in season 2. I don't know, it's been a while. But we get a lot of context as to Ruth's psychology and why he is the way he is. In this rather small section, it's very potent. And I also like I just love every part of this chapter. I love the, Narbad getting ready in the morning, because this shower just seems like the most perfect shower ever, but also it's very dwarfish. It's what, I couldn't see a dwarf shower being any different. You know what I mean? And I love filling out the dwarven mythology because it's so rarely done in fantasy. So I loved making that scene. I love, Narbad and Talia eating breakfast together in the morning, and kind of the conclusion of this, and him getting his armor on for the first time, and I loved describing that, and the goodbye with King Rain and the companions, and him kind of going over, what is to come, and, giving Talia a little bit of hint about the sword that he's given her. And we're kind of set up with part 3. Next week we have chapter 16, which is titled Freedom, and that's no coincidence. We have a lot of Zach and Hale stuff going on. I don't think that we have any Narbed in that chapter. It's kind of a shorter chapter. It's all Zach and Hale, and then a little bit of an update on Karam. That'll be next week. It's a shorter chapter, so enjoy that. After that, I believe we have chapter 17, which is, I believe, the last chapter of part 2. Oh, no, never mind. We have one chapter after that, which kind of concludes part 2 a bit. But, if each part were to have a rising and falling action, we are a little bit into the falling action of part 2. But that doesn't mean we've reached the climax of the whole story yet, though. So, hope you have a good week. I will see you next week. Peace out.